So I've been self-employed as a YouTuber and reseller for about 4 years or so now, but going back to when I was about 15 years old or so, I've probably had close to 30 different jobs in my life working for other people. So I thought it would be an interesting video today to kind of take a deep dive into my past employment history and rate each of my previous jobs on how much I enjoyed them, how much money I made, and various things like that. So stick around, I'm kind of excited about this one. I know this is not the type of video that we normally make here on the channel, so if you guys are watching today, I really appreciate it. We're back at the flip house. I wanted to get a better look at this area right here because I want to go to Lowe's or Home Depot today and get some bottom cabinets to go here. I'm thinking maybe just 2 standard ones would look nice. This is just gonna be like a coffee nook area, 2 bottom units with like a butcher block countertop or something, and then like 2 open shelving units on the wall. So we're gonna go grab those today. I do remember my first real job where I got a paycheck every week was working for a trophy shop in Varnville, South Carolina. We would make trophies and plaques and acrylic awards, medals, things like that. It's kind of interesting job. My cousin, she was a lot older than me, but she owned the shop, so a little bit of nepotism going on there. But I got hired there, worked with a lady named Miss Betsy. She was awesome, had a lot of great memories with her. And I worked there for probably 2 years or so throughout high school. Minimum wage job, so I wasn't making a ton of money, but it was flexible hours after school, 2 or 3 days a week, 2 or 3 hours a day. It was just really fun. I really enjoyed that job. I also had another job in high school that I was working at the same time as the trophy shop, and it was at our local Piggly Wiggly grocery store. I was a bag boy, pretty self-explanatory. I was bagging groceries, mopping floors, taking out trash, stuff like that. That was also a minimum wage job, and I didn't hate it. I think I worked there for like a year and a half or so, but the one thing I do remember about that job is that one of the managers never learned my name. My name's Josh, obviously, and he kept calling me Van for some reason. Like for a whole year and a half, anytime he would talk to me, he kept calling me Van. I'm like, 1, that's not my name. 2, that's such a weird name. Like I don't know anybody named Van other than Van Wilder from the movie. So that's my one memory from that job. I didn't hate the job, but it was memorable. Spent a good amount of time cleaning out our warehouse today. I just redonated a bunch of stuff. We threw a bunch of stuff away, honestly, that just wasn't too bad a condition to donate. But I do have this golf bag here, this Sun Mountain golf bag. It's in pretty good shape. It's not really worth a ton of money, maybe like 50 bucks online. So I'm just gonna take it into Play It Again Sports and see if we can get maybe 20, 25 bucks for it. Just move it out of my life and grab some cash. A success at Play It Again Sports. I really like the guy that owns that place. His name's Chris. He always gives us really fair deals. He can probably get about $80 to $100 for that bag, and he paid me $40 in cash for the bag. I got it in a big golf club bundle, so I don't really know exactly how much I have into that specific bag, but I'm super happy with 40 bucks. Now I don't have to ship it, and it's not taking up space in our warehouse anymore. So after I graduated high school in Hampton, South Carolina, I moved up here to Columbia, South Carolina to go to community college, and I was looking for a job to work after class or on the weekends or something like that, and I ended up getting a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I don't know why. I thought it was fine at the time, and I ended up working there for probably 2 years. And I will say I hated it. The lady who I was working for, the manager at that particular location, she was very her management style was just very, very intense. Like I would panic on some shifts, like worrying what did I forget or what she's gonna be mad about at this time. And I was an assistant manager at one point, so I would close in the nights and she would open in the mornings, and she would call me at 6 o'clock in the morning and complain about all the stuff that I missed on the night before. And I would have nightmares. I'd wake up in the middle of the night sweating, thinking what did I forget at work? So I did not enjoy that job. I'm not sure why I worked there for so long. I didn't make very good money. I was making, even as a manager in 2010, this was 2010, as an assistant store manager, I was making $8.75 an hour. So not a good job, do not recommend, 0 out of 10. Gonna head into Home Goods real fast. I'm looking for a new frying pan. The one we have is just kind of old. I don't really know exactly what I'm looking for because I hear that every possible coating on a pan gives you cancer, like that. Is that cancerous? This one is ceramic. I think I'm gonna get that. $17. New frying pan acquired, and I also found a cool mirror that I think will be a good fit for the primary bathroom at the rental property, but there's a little crack in the corner of it, so I took it up to the front to see how much it was because there's no price on it anyway, and she said it was $29.99, and then I asked for a discount since it had the little crack in the corner, and she sold it to me for $15. Where's the $15? So pretty cool. I'm excited. That's what it looks like. hopefully it matches. So after a couple years at KFC, I decided it was time for a change, and I heard that there was a new Chick-fil-A restaurant opening up on the other side of town. So I went for like an open interview they did before the location was actually built, and I told them, I was like, listen, I've been working at KFC as a manager for 2 years. I hate it. I have experience in a chicken selling restaurant. Please hire me. I hate this job so much. And he actually hired me on the spot, like literally at my interview. His name was Mr. Arnold, Steve Arnold, great boss. He hired me that day. He was like, yeah, you can clock in right now. Just go like sort uniforms in the back of the trailer. They had ordered uniforms for all the new employees, and he had me like sort the boxes of different sizes and stuff. So he was a very nice boss. He was very generous. We did like a big Christmas party every year. I worked at that location for about two and a half years or so, and I loved every minute of it. The pay was really good too. I think it was up to like maybe $9.50 or $9.75 an hour by the time I left. And back in 2011, when this was, that was actually pretty good for me. Here at Lowe's, trying to see if they have 2 of those kitchen cabinet bases for that area I was talking about earlier. I looked online and I think they have some in stock, and it should be like, I think 150, 160 bucks a piece, so not too bad. So the good news is that I did find the 2 cabinet bases I needed, but the bad news is that the only cart they had was the loudest cart I've ever heard in my life. Look at this. So we made it back to the flip house with the cabinets, and they fit in here perfectly. They actually were kind of shorter than we had, so I scooted the fridge over a little bit. I think it's gonna look really good. We had to go with the naked, unfinished cabinets because they were a lot cheaper, but now we can paint them or stain them or do whatever we want. So we're gonna have storage here, open shelving up here with like the coffee bar area, and then I wanna put a pantry over here somewhere. I don't know if I wanna move the fridge over and have the fridge on the end with the pantry in the middle, or build a pantry like just right here next to the fridge and maybe like going over the top of the fridge. I don't know. We're gonna figure all that out later, but for right now, this is good progress. I'm back at the house now, about to go in the warehouse and get some stuff clean. There's Mose hanging out here with me. I got this little Squirtle in yesterday's video from the parking lot deal. He's a little dirty. We're gonna try to clean him up so we can sell him in our, we're gonna sell him in the Whatnot show tonight. I think I worked at Chick-fil-A for about 2 years or so. I actually transferred to a smaller Chick-fil-A that was inside of a grocery store, kind of, sorta, and I worked there for like 6 months, and then the grocery store went out of business. It was like a Kroger or something. So unfortunately, we went out of business. I had a chance to go back to the other Chick-fil-A, but I was just kind of over it at that point. I'd been there for so long. I was like, it's just time for something else. So at the time, my roommate, yes, Mose, I'm getting there. My roommate was working at a Chinese restaurant delivering food, and he was making really good money. At least he said he was. So I got him to give me an interview there. I got that job, and I was super excited because I had been making, $8, maybe $9 an hour at Chick-fil-A, and then at the Chinese place, they were paying minimum wage, which was like $7.50 an hour at the time, but you also got like $1.50 per delivery that you took, as well as your tips, and tips were sometimes, $3 to $10, somewhere in that range, usually, depending on which area of town you go to. So in one shift, like a 5-hour or 6-hour shift, I would make $60, $70 just in tips, not including the delivery fees that I would get to keep or minimum wage. So I was rolling in cash, it felt like, at that time in my life. So I worked there for maybe 2 years or so, and I think I got fired. I don't really remember why I left the first time, but I'm pretty sure I got an argument with the manager or something like that, and I just left. So after my stint at the Chinese restaurant, I ended up at a local deli called DePrado's Deli. Great food, terrible management. I think I worked there for like 2 or 3 months. She was just awful. She was almost as bad as the KFC lady that made me quit KFC. I mean, she was just a terrible person to work for. I'm sure she's a nice person in real life, but in terms of an employment, she was awful. I guess I kind of feel bad about talking poorly about my previous bosses, but I also want to be honest with you guys. Like, it was not a good job. I hated it. And I actually got to the point where I didn't have any money at this point. I went from making really good money delivering Chinese food to making like $9 an hour working at this deli. And I was miserable, like waking up every morning just absolutely dreading going to work. And it just got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna quit because I hate this job so much. I had no money saved up. I had no plan on the horizon, but I just could not physically go to that job anymore. So put my 2 weeks notice in with no backup plan and quit. And that started pretty much the worst time of my life. So at the time of quitting this deli job, I felt okay because my cost of living was so low. My rent was literally $250 a month at this point in my life because I was renting a room from my friend, and the house was part of a Section 8 housing development. So it was not a great neighborhood, but it was super cheap. So that came in handy. But I still needed money. I had a car payment, car insurance, I had to buy food and things like that. So I still needed something coming in. And my last check from the deli was like 90 bucks. I'm like, okay, I just need to make this last the rest of my life until I can find something else. So I started applying for other jobs, and after like a week, I was like, why am I not getting interviews? I was applying at Burger King, McDonald's, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, literally every business I could think of, I was putting in applications. And I didn't get a single call for an interview. And I didn't understand what was going on, because these are all entry-level positions that I'm applying for. I had open availability. I wasn't in college at this point. I'd already graduated with my 2-year degree, and I hadn't gone for my 4-year degree yet. So I could work anytime. I had a car. I was nice. I had no criminal record. Like, why? I'm a perfect candidate for an entry-level position, and I couldn't get a single interview. So it got to the point where I just didn't have any money left. I mean, I had zero money and zero food, and I had to resort to going to a local food bank called Harvest Hope, and they gave me a bunch of food. I was like, listen, I'm sorry. I know this is for like poor people, but right now I'm a poor people. So it was a very humbling experience, and I knew I needed to do something to get money. I wasn't just gonna waste away in life. So I started taking my guitar and my guitar case downtown to downtown Columbia and just playing guitar on the sidewalk and hoping people would give me money. I'm not super great at guitar or singing or anything like that, but people thought it was cool, and I actually started making a good amount of money doing that. I would go usually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night and stay for, I don't know, anywhere from like 2 to 3 hours or so, depending on how many people were out and about and walking around and how many tips I was getting. But it got to a point over the course of about maybe 3 or 4 weeks of doing that, 3 nights a week, I had made over $1,000 in tips just from people putting money in my guitar case, which was super cool. However, it was exhausting having to play guitar and sing, and my hands were getting all calloused, my voice was all raspy, and it's just hard to maintain that. So I knew I couldn't do that forever. So here's where it gets really interesting. I was applying for a lot of jobs at this time. I had some money from guitar, so I wasn't like super stressed out anymore. I could pay my bills and eat food. But I was applying for jobs mainly in the food service industry because I had so much experience in there. So I had applied at a place called Bruegger's Bagels, and I applied at another ChickfilA, the one inside the mall, Columbiana Mall in Columbia, South Carolina. So both of these places did call me in for an interview. The Chick-fil-A called me in for an interview first, and I was very confident in that interview because I'd already had, I don't know, like 2.5 years experience working at a Chick-fil-A. So I'm like, okay, this is a shoe-in, I'll definitely get this job. But Chick-fil-A is very intense with their interviews, at least this one was. So my first interview was like with an assistant manager. She liked me, and she asked if I could come back in 2 weeks to get a second interview with a higher up manager. I'm like, yeah, I can, but I really need a job right now. I didn't tell her that, but I was very desperate for a job at this point. So Bruegger's Bagels also called me in for an interview, and they actually let me do like a practice run. She's like, come in on this Saturday and just work for like 2 hours just to see if you like the job, and then we can go from there. So I went to Bruegger's Bagels. Why is it so hard to say? I went to Bruegger's Bagels on a Saturday, worked 2 hours, and it went great. The manager at that location had actually been a manager at KFC in the past, so we talked about all of our KFC stories together, and we just like clicked instantly. I knew she liked me, I liked her, and then I was working and I was learning really fast, and I actually really enjoyed the 2-hour working there. And so I left, and she called me the same day and offered me the job. It was like $8.50 an hour. And I was like, okay, I have an offer now. This is interesting. But I kind of wanted to work at Chick-fil-A again because the Bruegger's Bagels had weird hours. It was like 4:30 in the morning until like 2 in the afternoon. And I don't know, it was just kind of weird. So I'm like, let me just do my second interview at Chick-fil-A and just see what happens. So I had my second interview with them, and they offered me a job as well, but they only offered me $8 an hour. So Bruegger's Bagels had offered me $8.50. Chick-fil-A offered me $8, which was like $1.50 less than I was making at Chick-fil-A 3 years prior, you know? So that was a little weird, but I'm like, I don't know, I was still on the fence. I kind of wanted to work at Chick-fil-A, but Bruegger's Bagels was better money, and at this point, money was very important to me, so I didn't know what to do. So I called the Bruegger's Bagel manager that I had talked to that worked at KFC previously, and I explained the situation. I was like, yeah, I just kind of want to work Chick-fil-A. They didn't offer me as much money as you guys have, but kind of leaning towards that. I just don't really know what to do. And she actually bumped me up and said she could pay $9.50 an hour. $9.50 an hour, a whole extra $1 an hour than she offered me before. I'm like, wow, that is very, very tempting, and I feel like I should take it. But something I don't know, I just felt like I needed to work at Chick-fil-A. I felt like that's where I was being called to work. I can't explain it. I've never experienced anything like that. I just felt like that was where I needed to be. So I went back to Chick-fil-A for my last interview or whatever. They offered me the job. I think they bumped it up to $8 an hour instead of $7.50, or I don't know what it was. It was like $1.50 less per hour than Bruegger's Bagels. But I accepted the job at Chick-fil-A. Even though it was less money, I just felt like I needed to be there. And wouldn't you know it, that Chick-fil-A is where I met Haley, my beautiful wife. Isn't that kind of crazy? Like, at that point in my life, I needed money. I was so broke. And I had another job opportunity that I liked. I liked the work. I literally worked 2 hours there, and they were offering me $1.50 more per hour. That's like significantly more when you think about percentages. And for some reason, I just felt like I needed to be at this Chick-fil-A. And because I made that decision, because I listened to that little voice in my head that was telling me to go to Chick-fil-A, I met my wife. So, kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. I'm gonna try to go a little bit faster now. You guys have stuck with me for way too long on today's video. So if you're still watching, I really appreciate that. So worked with Haley at Chick-fil-A for about 6 months or so. And then she graduated high school and had to go to Clemson to go to college. So I'd still worked at Chick-fil-A for a while. And it was just tight money, you know, making $8.50 an hour, whatever I was making. It was less money than I had been making in the past. It was a fun job. I enjoyed the people I worked with. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just didn't have much money. After I paid rent and, you know, gas and my car and all that stuff, I was having like $40 or $50 left to my name each paycheck, each two-week period. So I was like, man, I wish I had some opportunity to make more money in life. And wouldn't you know it, one random day, I got a call from my old boss at the Chinese restaurant I worked at, the one I got fired from. And he had called me, and he was a Chinese man, and he started talking in Chinese. I'm like, what, Ken? Because I had his number saved in my phone. I was like, Ken? He's like, oh, Josh. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, oh, wrong number. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then the next day after that butt dial or whatever, he called me back again and asked if I could come back to work because they needed help. And I'm like, I mean, I have a job at Chick-fil-A. I mean, I can come back and work, you know, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, but I'm full-time at Chick-fil-A at this point. He was like, yeah, that's fine. Just Saturdays. So then I started working Saturdays at the Chinese restaurant again. And it was awesome because it was great extra money. It was minimum wage plus the delivery fee and tip. And I was working all day long on Saturday, like 11 to 11. So one shift, I would walk away with, you know, $250, which was what I was making almost the whole week at Chick-fil-A. And that cycle kind of continued for maybe 3 months of doing that. And then I think I was just making so much more money at the Chinese restaurant that I just lost interest in Chick-fil-A. And they kind of saw that and they were like, hey, you're not fired, but if you want to go work at the Chinese restaurant full time, that would be fine with us. So I did that. I went to the Chinese restaurant full time. I think I stayed there for maybe 6 months or so. And then I just realized that I needed to do something else with my life. I couldn't work at a Chinese restaurant delivering food forever. I needed something more professional, I guess. And through a very long process that I don't really have time to get into in today's video, I ended up landing a job with a guy named Fran Halloran, and I got my insurance license and started selling home, auto, and life insurance. It was fun. I enjoyed it at first. I got to dress up for work and be professional, and it was like a job that I felt proud of, but it was a sales job, and sales jobs are either feast or famine. You know, some months I'd make $3,000-$4,000. Some months I'd make $200, and I was not very good at handling money at that point in my life. So it was just, I don't know. I quickly realized that it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I just kind of lost a passion for it, and I knew I needed to change gears a little bit. And since I had gone through the process of getting my insurance license, which is fairly an in-depth process, I didn't want that to go to waste. So I found a company in Columbia, South Carolina called Siebel's. They're a company that like provides services for other insurance companies. They don't sell insurance. They just like do all the paperwork that comes along with insurance. And we had worked with them in the past before through companies that we sold for. They provided services. So I was aware of several people that worked there. So I emailed one of my contacts at that place, and I was like, hey, I don't want to sell insurance anymore. Do you guys have any job openings? So through that conversation, I got a job as an insurance underwriter, and that was awesome. It was a salary position, $40,000 a year, had full health insurance, it had life insurance, and all the benefits you'd want in a traditional 9-to-5 job. And I was on cloud nine. I remember I told Haley that I got the job, $40,000 a year, and we were just ecstatic because the year prior to that, selling insurance, I think my taxable income after all expenses and everything was like $10,000. Like, it was not very much money at all. We weren't struggling because Haley was making a lot of money in her job, but it was just embarrassing, you know, not making that much money, making that little amount of money. So basically quadrupling my income from $10,000 to $40,000 a year was a huge boost of motivation and excitement for our little family. So I was very excited about that job. It was fun, it was easy, I enjoyed the work. It was a job that I felt like I could work at for the rest of my life. And then bam, August 2019, I was suddenly laid off. I'd been working there for a little over a year, like maybe 14 or 15 months at that point, and we were busy. We were so busy, we had mandatory overtime at the job. We were having to work like 45, 50 hours a week just to catch up on all the business we were doing. They called me into an HR meeting one morning, and they just said, due to no fault of your own, your position has been eliminated at our company. And they walked me out, the security walked me out, and I went to my car and I didn't know what to do. I called Haley. I was like, well, I just got fired from this $40,000 a year job that we were so excited about. And honestly, we were really upset. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go at this point in my life. And I'm like, well, maybe I can try reselling in YouTube full time. At this time, I had my YouTube channel for about 9 months. I just got to the point where I could make money with it. I had become monetized on YouTube literally the week before I got laid off. Reselling was going well. You know, I didn't have a lot of time to do it, but we were making $300, $400, $500 a month just selling stuff on eBay. And so I was like, well, let's just try it. If it doesn't work, I can always go get another office job somewhere else now that I have, you know, over a year of experience working in an office. But I didn't want to do that. I was like, maybe, just maybe, we can work really hard and make this whole eBay and YouTube thing work out. And that was August of 2019. By January of 2020, I was making more on YouTube and eBay than I was at the job, more than $40,000 a year working at the job I got laid off from. And then from there, it's just gone up and up ever since then. And then it got to a point where we basically weren't cashing any of Haley's paychecks about 2 years later. And I was like, why are you working? If you don't want to work, you don't have to work, because we're doing so well with YouTube and eBay. Quit if you want to. So then Haley joined me full time, and here we are. About 2 years ago is when Haley quit her job to join me full time, and we've both been full time YouTube and eBay ever since then. So that's my story of almost all of my jobs. I had some other jobs in between. All right, I think we're back. The camera overheated because I was recording too long, talking your ear off about this stuff. But you guys get it. It's been a fairly in-depth coverage of my employment history as a human being. And I've worked for a lot of different people in my life, and I've now been self-employed. And I will say there's nothing wrong with working for other people. There are definitely great people out there. Probably the best boss I ever had was Fran at the insurance place. It was like one of the least amount of money that I made in a job, but he was just a very kind person to work for. He was like a father figure to me. He still is to this day. So I just really appreciate him. But now, having worked for myself for so long, I would never go back to working for somebody else. There's just something very rewarding about owning your own business and being fully responsible for any failures or successes. You know, it's a lot of work. I work more now than I ever worked in the past working for other people, but it's just very rewarding. And I think if you're a naturally entrepreneurial person, like I feel like I am, it's just fun. Like, I enjoy working. I love making YouTube videos and finding cool stuff and being able to flip it for more money. Like, I get so much value and enjoyment out of that whole process. And the fact that I could do this for a living and like support our family doing this, like, this is just wild, and I am extremely blessed. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I love you so much. We will see you in the Whatnot auction tonight. I don't know, come to that if you want to check that out, and we'll see you tomorrow on our next YouTube video. Thank you so much. Bye.